Go.
Yes, that's right. We are here for another edition of Deep Space Nine at Nine-ish. I'm your host, Jeff Mader, coming to you live, talking about Season 2, Episode 15, Paradise. It is over and has been since 1994, but we are just getting started. I'm here with co-hosts Dave Mader on my bottom right, and we also have on the bottom left Jaemeel Robinson here to talk about all things Paradise. What's it like to be in a cult? What
Sean's
do
here to watch. We got,
that's basically what we're here to talk about tonight. First thoughts on this episode. I mean, I immediately thought, actually, when I was watching the episode, guys, was the movie, I forget what it's called, but it's with Viggo Mortensen, and his family is like lives out in the woods, and they're like off the grid, and I forget what it's called. Here, I'll look at
The History of Violence.
No. It's a different movie.
Is it bad that I first thought Hidalgo, which has nothing to do with what you just said?
I first thought Ghostbusters 3 because when you say Vigo, I still think, look, he is Vigo.
Vigo.
It's Vigo.
That was pretty good.
I forget what it's called. But anyway,
John's here watching along. He says, "I work at imaginability." I don't know what that is. Do you guys?
Sorry.
He works in imaginability.
Well, I don't know what that is, but that's cool.
Anyway, there's an episode where Viggo Mortensen and he basically takes his family out into the woods and they live off the grid, and it's like this whole like we're gonna go live without technology and without anything and just be kind of, and it also like made me think about the Amish and how they just choose to live in a less than advanced society. They just want to be simple,
or the village,
find themselves. Or the village, maybe, or yeah, you could go with that.
Spoilers,
that's more the cult era of this episode, and so, Jaemeel, like, what did you get out of this episode? What did it tell you about cults? Do you want to join one? That's kind of what I got out of the end. They're like, "Hey, you should stay in the cult." I was like, "What?"
So, I remember loving this episode, and rewatching it, I was like, why? Like, it's not a bad episode per se. It's just that I in my mind, I thought this was like this epic episode, and just watching it now, I'm just like, it's kind of short, and you kind of see, it's like paint by numbers. You kind of see where everything's going to lead up to and what the end result was. Part of that is because I kind of know how it plays off already, but like, I'm like, oh yeah, I can see exactly what this episode is. Like, they do not like kind of hide who the protagonist is. Sorry, the antagonist in this episode at all. It is like, here's the antagonist. Like, it was pretty like self-evident. But still, as an episode, what it's trying to say, it does say it. So I have to give it points for that.
Okay, and Dave, what did you make out of this episode? What kind of were the themes that kind of run through your head? What did it remind you of? And do you like this episode? Would you watch it again?
I think that after tonight, I don't need to revisit this for a while, but much like Jaemeel said, like, I remember this being stronger, and I think it is strong in some ways, but it's not good. Because I think that the whole Kira Dax B line, if you will, is really weak. It is not well done. I think that that what really holds this episode together is some great performances from Avery Brooks and this guest star who plays Alexis. Is that her name? Gail.
Her name is Alexis. Yeah,
Alexis, right? Like the antagonist, right? The leader of this.
It's spelled very weirdly. Yeah,
it's like
played by Gail. Played by Gail Strickland. Yes.
Yeah, I think that they're both really good in this episode. I think that there's some good themes here and that still hold up, but yeah, like overall, it's not as good as I thought it was. I think that the son is really weak as an actor, like when it plays Alexis's son.
You could have got any dumb guy for
Yeah.
he could have just grunted. Did he talk? No, he did talk.
That's
He
some
did
lines,
talk.
but he was not.
How dare you talk that way about Steven? My precious Steven.
Your
He's
precious
tough.
Steven.
Don't mess with us. You're gonna have
He
to deal with
can.
Steven.
He'll fire a bow and arrow. He tried to flat out murder O'Brien tonight. Okay, like
did.
it was okay.
For a hunter is pretty dumb though.
John here is saying he's a Star Trek Online guy. So am I, Steve or John. So, I got a ship. Check it out. Commonwealth to come.
You should make
Or-
sure that you should be streaming your play. You know, let people experience the awesomeness that you've
I should
built
do
up.
like a podcast,
Sure.
like a live feed one night where I actually show
Yeah,
everything.
do it
off.
Twitch.
Take it to what do you call it? To Rise.
Rise. Yeah, Riza.
Guess
Show
what
some dance
launched
moves.
today in Star Trek Online? It's Q's Winter Wonderland.
Ooh.
And so there's all kinds of crazy things going on, like Klingon ice fishing. You got to fight all like these snowmen who are trying to invade the Wonderland, but they're Borg snowmen, right? And they say isolation is or something like that. I don't know. Check it out.
Sounds like a tremendous waste of time.
We're in the middle of a pandemic.
In a pandemic, there are worse ways to spend
Perfect waste of
Okay.
time. It sounds just right on key and safe.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Tremendous waste of time. Okay, so with this episode, actually, I do feel like yes, the lady that plays Alexis, gives a great performance as a villain. Yeah, the Steven guy didn't even need to be in the episode. I don't know what that was about. That could have been cut completely for the episode. Nobody would have cared. The scenes with Cisco where he sends the Asian girl like into like have sex with him and he's like, hey,
Do you
like
want to
did she
make
send you in here? Yeah.
Did she send you here to make love to me? He says it so tenderly.
He does. He says it
He
just the way
only
you-
makes love. He has been Cisco, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, did she send you here to make love to me? Like he says it so slow and like subtle. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What was her name? Her name was Cassandra.
Cassandra.
Yes.
This is where I would go into my like Wayne's World, Cassandra line sequences.
Swing.
She's
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln.
What's in the box, Jeff? What's in the box?
Also, like how? Okay, explain this to me, Dave. Okay, two things. One, why are they? They're in the Alpha Quadrant. They're not in the Gamma Quadrant. They're
Correct.
in the Aurelia system,
Yeah.
and then they're like they find this planet, and they're like, there's people down there, and they're like, oh, like there's no record of a colony here. And it's just like, oh yeah, 10 years ago. So you're telling me for 10 years, nobody ever went by this planet and was like, hey, what's this all about?
Apparently,
that's-
so. That's what we're led to believe here is that space is a big place, and that they I guess there are sort of the off the beaten path planets and systems away from the Federation's.
Yeah, they were looking for a place to possibly set up a colony there. So they're like, oh, we're going to this place that no one usually goes by this star. Hey, there's a couple of planets we should look into. Let's look at this one. Like, that was the reasoning for it. Like,
What were they setting a colony up for?
probably the people from Sanctuary. They need a new place. They messed up their last one.
Yeah, I
don't
don't
know.
know. There's always colonists everywhere you look in Star Trek. There's people setting up colonies on planets. Like there's all these nice planets, and they're always setting up. I'm like, what's wrong with Earth? Or is it just getting crowded and you're leaving for those reasons? Or
And how many planets have no like indigenous populations? They're just like free planets to like go just
and
settle.
you want to write. You can create as many as you want to write them into the story because that's the fun part. Like, there's no limits to it. There are Star Trek set up sort of for limitless number of worlds you can sort of throw in there. Which it makes it fun, but also sort of it's hard to kind of grasp the universe. Like I think that like Star Wars has more of a cohesive sense of like this is the galaxy and this is their like these are all the races and where they. I think they're starting to at least build that out more in their lore. Star Trek has some catching up to do in world building, because I think post Game of Thrones, I think that audiences want that more. I think they want to have more of a sense of this is the world my characters live in, and how do I sort of
well, not to turn this into a disco conversation, but isn't disco kind of doing that this year where, they're like, okay, we reset things and then we're establishing a new status quo, and what you thought you didn't know, and every place they go is distinct and different and has its own kind of like culture, and it's like everything is new again. And they're not going back to the same place. So they are doing world building, and it's kind of hard to do world building in a series that is like in the past. So because things can evolve and such,
right.
As opposed to if it's in the past, it's like, well, we have set points. We know that anything that happens, it has to get to this point. So like moving in the future is like the best decision that show ever did. Regardless, with like setting up new colonies, it like requires a lot of person power, like and sacrifice. Like I assume that it's very rare for people to do that, especially like Federation sanctioned ones, because basically that's what they're doing. Although in hindsight, why would you have the commander and the station chief be doing that type of like mission? Wouldn't you like have your science officer
go out and look for or send starships? Don't you have ships to do this kind of stuff? Like, hey, Cisco, why don't you and O'Brien go out there by yourselves? Even though you have like many crewmen, you could bring backup with you, because what are these people busy? They're doing something better. Like, bring them along and check out if there's any colonies we can put people on. For what, they don't say. Maybe there's a refugee crisis, something. There's some reason they need to find a planet nearby they can put people on. But with the size of Starfleet, you think that this would be, or the perceived size of the fleet, I guess in my mind, which is almost limitless. I estimate hundreds of ships, thousands of ships. I don't know.
Well, there has to be hundreds of thousands of ships, because there's like hundreds of worlds that have their own individuals that are representing Starfleet, like
right, and each of those planets have billions of people, right?
Yeah.
So presumably there's a lot going on, but like, so anyway, yes, you're right. I believe Star Trek Discovery is doing a great job of resetting things, building the world out. But at this time in Star Trek, in like this 2370s era, this next gen era, it just seems like, I don't know, like it's space is so big you can't even possibly
comprehend
how you could lose like this ship of people, these 24 people, for 10 years. No one came looking for them either,
and they just survived on this planet, and that was that. Yeah, for sure. Also, this episode I felt like really featured like the runabouts almost as a character. Did you guys feel that? Like the whole scene where like the runabouts like ghosting, go at warp, and they have to tractor beam it, and just it was runabout, like it was just runabouts everywhere, and I was just like, this is the episode I think they decided we got to do to the fight.
This is the toy selling episode. This is a toy selling episode.
Good point. I was like, why are they doing this? But why are they trying to sell the runabout to us? At this still.
These are some of the episodes where they're like, oh, this is a great scene where we can kind of heavily feature the runabouts. That gives them the okay for the budget, because typically what other options do they have to slow down that runabout, right? Couldn't they, like, there's no way they can connect their computers, like override the systems to shut it down?
Okay, yeah, okay. Biggest pet peeve in this episode for me, I'm with you, Jaemeel, is like this whole storyline with Kira and Dax is bad, right? Because they have to go looking for Cisco and O'Brien since they're missing, and so they go, oh, a Romulan ship spotted the runabout. So we say I'll do a count, but how many times they say it in the script, but it's a lot. And so they go to look for the runabout and they find it, but it's like, oh, now we have to lasso, we have to rope She says we have to rope the runabout. I learned an old thing on Earth. I'm like, who wrote this this episode? Terrible.
We should do it. We should do this episode for radio theater, but instead of runabout, you have to say a different word, like a dirty word, like penis or something. She's like, I gotta wrap that. So, I think that'd be hilarious.
But like the character writing for this is like, well, we're showing that Dax is sexually adventurous and she hit Earth, so obviously she did like a cowboy role play type of thing where she learned how to lasso, which we never see that skill ever used ever at all. So they just wrote it in. Like, this is like, seriously, looking at Dax as a character 2 season, it's like, man, I want to build this hot chick that just like screws dudes and like just talks like cracking wise about all the stuff she does in bed. That's basically her character outside of some like actually like impactful emotional moments. Right? That's her.
My interpretation of this whole scene tonight, the whole rope lasso episode, because it doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense that they can't remotely tell that runabout to shut down. So the only logical explanation is they can do that. Dax is the only one who knows this. Kira, as a Bajoran national, he's not as familiar with the Starfleet, maybe technology, and therefore Dax is fucking with her. Like, she's like, no, we have to let do this runabout, and it
might kill us, and we have to pray that the people that manufactured these runabouts did a good job. If they had a bad day, it's going to be a bad day for you and me, Kira. And then she knew, actually, that was all lies. She knew like the ships would be fine no matter what.
Like, if that was your option, why would you do that option? Why would you? Well, to stop this runabout, we might destroy both ships with us on it. It's like, that's a word. You might as well just like shoot the nacelles off of the runabout, right? And then like, when it's adrift, just drag it back where you need to go. Like, if that's the only option.
What was wrong with Kira's original plan? Kira's original plan is we're gonna go up next to it. We're gonna match speed, and I'm gonna beam over. And Dax says, like, hell you will. Is that dangerous?
I mean, apparently not in the Star Trek reboot movie where they explain
they can transwarp. In the reboot movies they transwarp across the galaxy, but but at this time, like I always got the impression if two ships are kind of going at the same speed at warp, it's maybe a little tricky to transport, but it's like O'Brien.
No, in the first reboot movie, there's a big deal made about beaming into another ship while it's at warp, and that's because like Spock says, well, because you haven't invented that theory yet, so that means that Scott.
I don't know where he's going exactly. I don't know if I agree with.
No, like he's basically saying that it's invented eventually in modern Star Trek times. That's what the reference is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
You know what? It isn't the worst decision, but like, okay, let's take a step back further. How was that runabout sent away? Because I'm pretty sure Miss Technology, anti-technology, is not beaming aboard a spaceship, setting a course, and then beaming back.
She must have. That's the only explanation, too. She must have, and she had to have had a transporter somewhere nearby that she could get up to the ship.
She used the anti blah 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 anti EMS machine,
the anti-technology thing she had buried in the dirt.
Had to. There's no other explanation.
But how could she remotely take over the runabout? Like, how could she even do anything to the runabout? I don't understand. Like how this plot unfolded.
They totally bypassed it. They absolutely.
I don't think it's necessarily important. I think the whole point of was to have a cool set piece with the runabouts, have Dax and Kira have something to do, while Cisco and O'Brien are in Cultville. So they just needed like just watching the whole episode. I'm just like, okay, once Kira and Dax figure out this problem, that's when Cisco and O'Brien are going to figure out the cult thing problem, and it's all going to culminate at once. That's exactly what happened. And I was just like, okay, yeah.
she has to have some kind of technology that she's using. How else are they going to like track O'Brien and Cisco as they transport to to the village or the outskirts of the village. If they're working all the time, maybe one person would be hunting. Like there was a bunch of people. They like quartered him.
If they had destroyed that runabout, they may never have found Cisco and O'Brien, because they wouldn't have known, like, the reverse course to return. They wouldn't know where the ship came from, would they?
To me, this is the weakest part of the story. So you have the A storyline talking about man's reliance on technology, and then of course Kira and like Dax don't use like proper deduction. They're like, someone told us, so we found it, so we're just gonna use the sensors and backtrack. There's no kind of deductive. If there was like a mystery type of thing and they use ingenuity to kind of find the planet, that would be at least a more interesting kind of B storyline that kind of mirrors the A storyline. To say that, yes, we can understand Alexa's point of view, but modern man has adapted to work hand in hand with technology, right? Maybe they felt that this wasn't the episode to kind of present that idea, but still.
I think in some ways, yes, like it's saying that humans at their core, and we are not meant to have technology. We are animals. That is not our normal environment naturally, but we have created that environment to help us, prosper and evolve, right?
Live long.
So exactly, live long and prosper. But but if you go back to the roots, you might find happiness, and I think that's what this episode's trying to say is, and then people can convince you of that as well, and then you can kind of get indoctrinated into this idea of purity and a pure life and clean life and all that.
Screw these people, Jeff. Okay, I've had it with the Alexis cult. By the end of this episode, when all of them decide to stay, like, no,
I don't think
whatever Alexis did, we forgive her, and she did show us a way. I'm like, screw you. She got people killed by diseases that they died of, they would not have died of. So she marooned them on this planet on purpose. She's a psychopath. They're crazy for not being even upset with her. Clearly, they were so, and I couldn't. Those children, right, who are like they wanted to go. They didn't want to stay. They were looking with, no one went for them. I feel
why didn't Cisco and O'Brien ask everybody other than the one guy who was like, "Hey, we like it here" or whatever? Why they just took that guy's word for every single other person, and that might have felt scared to have left. They should have went to every single person and asked, "Do you want to leave?" But O'Brien was more like, "Hey, everybody want to get on the bus? Come aboard." And then the one guy was like, "Hey, no, nobody wants to get on your bus." And then I think people want to get on the bus too, Dave. Like the ending shot is two children kind of going, like looking at the cup on the.
I know.
They're kind of going, "Well, I kind of don't like it here. It kind of sucks."
Are they really like making their own clothes and making these interesting necklines, especially this guy with the hat I don't know what exactly this neckline is for him, but like in dying of like mosquito bites, because we haven't found the root we need yet. Or are they seduced by their barbaric justice system, Jeff? And they just like, what, if someone steals, throw them in the box. If someone doesn't listen to the boss, throw them in the box. This is a pretty horrific thing even to depict in like sort of a family show of the 90s.
At the same time, why was O'Brien working on thing during work hours? Doesn't he have a free afternoon, like free evening or free night, where he could have done it and not like stepped on people's toes?
I don't know. Seems like Alexis ran a pretty like she ran a like you had stuff to do all the time. If you were wasting your time figuring out stuff, that was time you could have been farming and doing things like work in the field, whatever their chores were. You think that these super nice clothes weaved themselves? No, no, they had to be made. These hats had to be made. Like
he's like, I have to make my dress longer.
Like at first when O'Brien and Cisco show up, she's like, 2 men who can look. I'm just like almost salivating and like rubbing her hands together. Oh yeah, let's get that. Let's get these 2 guys out there, and we're gonna be eating good.
She's like, I'll throw him food. I'll throw him some pussy. I'll throw him whatever he needs. You know, and I'll give him some nice clothes.
Like they didn't like. I don't think that it's so dire. And why did she pick this planet that they have winters on? Right? Like you could have picked a planet or a place on the planet that just has summer all the time. You wouldn't have to. You could still have your paradise.
I guess it kind of hit that like isolation point that she was looking for.
I guess, or she wanted a certain level of hardship, right, for her whole scheme. People had to work for their dinner and all these things, right? Like O'Brien and Cisco are put to work pretty much in the moment they show up.
Wait, hold on a second. Hold on. Let me. Something come to me. Why did Cisco and O'Brien take them off the planet?
Why didn't they?
Why did they? They shouldn't take them off the planet. They should be punished on the planet. They have set up a new society, right? Prime Directive says that they should be leaving these people. They are not a part of Starfleet, right? They should be left on that planet and they should be punished for what they've done, right? At the same time, this falls into like Alexis' hands because she's going to go back. They're going to make a big spectacle of what she did. She's going to promote her books, right? It's the worst thing. Did you get that?
Jeff? Can't hear you. Nope, can't hear you. Alexis is a psycho.
She is.
And I can hear you now.
Can you hear me though?
No. But moving on to this cult. Okay. I have a question about Lexus and the dampening field that O'Brien eventually discovers. What took so long? I mean, really, that seemed to be a while. Like you said,
he needed the time to build the compass. That's why.
It seemed like she ran it.
You're breaking up, Jeff.
He needed to build a compass. That was the issue. And you guys can't hear me.
I can hear you. I
Okay.
just Jeff. I think the audience can hear both of us too. Jeff sometimes lags. There he goes. He's sort of. Are you back?
Okay. He needed time away to build the compass, right? And being like watched constantly, he couldn't actually go ahead and build it because you need the water, you need to get the rocks and make sure that they're magnetized, and then you have the sliver that you put in the leaf. That's supposedly you build a compass. If I remember all the elementary school and the shows that showed people how to make compasses on leaves, right? So nice cup that he had, the cup bowl.
But like, okay, that's how that was like no tricorders work. Best thing you can do is make a compass, and then the compass will lead you to the thing.
It was a mnemonic field or
the Teutonic fields. Yeah, whatever it was. Yeah. It was the thing they couldn't figure out, right? That all these people for 10 years, like maybe they eventually became indoctrinated, but like how fast did it happen? Like they must have tried to.
That other engineer just kind of. He's like, I'm the last person. Like, what were you doing?
Like, how can we be sure that Alexis didn't actually kill off the people who died, right? Who maybe were threats to her? We can't be sure, right? We saw that she was willing to kill O'Brien, or at least her son was. Yeah. He took a full-on shot with that bow and arrow.
Well, think about it for Meg. Meg was the one that died during the episode.
Yeah.
With Meg constantly like on the brink of death, right? O'Brien and Cisco had motivation to try to get to the runabout so that they can, save her life. And it would always, if there was prolonged suffering, then possibly the townspeople would be like, hey, maybe we should help them if there's a slight possibility of saving Meg. By killing Meg, it kind of ends the subject right then and there, and takes the dire need to get back to the runabout and kind of resets things to, you guys just came to our planet, you're not following our rules.
Right. Jeff, I keep trying to add him back in.
Oh, did you look at the cast list?
Yes. Why?
Is there someone from a show that you like that was one of the guest stars this episode?
Who do we got? We have Gail Strickland as Alexis. We have Eric Weiss as Steven, the son. We have Michael Buckham Silver as Vinod. Who's that?
Isn't Vinod the son? The other
gentleman. The son. No, wait, then who's Steven?
Steven's the engineer.
Oh no, Steven's the criminal.
Oh yeah, Steven's the criminal who stole a candle.
It's the candle thief. And then we have Joseph. Steven Vinovich.
Who's the engineer, I guess.
Yeah, okay. And I don't know this guy.
I believe there's a Babylon 5 connection.
Babylon 5. Who was he on Babylon 5? Sorry. Looking up his filmography.
It's one of the women. I think it might be Cassandra, possibly.
Oh, should I know her?
Yeah.
Julian Nixon. Okay. Who's Julian Nixon? Julian Nixon from Next Gen. She played Lieutenant Sue.
Yep. She was in Sidekicks with Chuck Norris.
Is Jeff coming back?
I don't know.
He's talking about this one here. Her?
I think so. You're showing me a picture. We talked about this.
Julian Nixon. I
was distinctly under the impression that someone from this episode was on Babylon 5.
I was under the distinct impression they weren't. I haven't seen any. I didn't see any Babylon 5 connections tonight. I'm always on the lookout for them, Jaemeel. So
you're like, oh, there you go. Oh, maybe it's just my mind playing tricks on me.
No, I don't think. Well, maybe they guest starred on Babylon 5, and I don't remember, but it's not coming up on any of the stuff I'm looking up here. So I can't corroborate that.
I'll look for it and let you know. Yeah,
it seems to be better.
You're back.
You know what?
Welcome back.
I was using Google Chrome, and I think it might be the browser more than anything. Because now I'm on Microsoft Edge, and it works.
Well, see if this works. I'm on Chrome.
But
I don't know if you heard my theory, though, Jeff.
For me, anyway.
Did you hear my theory?
No, what did you say?
That they killed Meg.
They killed who?
Meg, the woman that
One who
died.
dies from the mosquito bite.
Yeah.
I think they
who killed her.
Alexis.
Yeah, that's why they arrested her and Steven, right?
No, like she purposely killed them to eliminate the possibility or the desire for Cisco and O'Brien to get to the runabout by the townspeople, because they would want Meg to get better regardless.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
and
my
that's why they say. That's why they say, "Would you have done this to your own son?" And she says, "Yes."
Oh, yeah.
She would have let. Yeah, she would have let her own son die, rather than get help and expose them to technology.
Which, like,
Stupid.
they're so indoctrinated that, like, of course that's going to be the answer, right?
These people suck. They all suck. The fact that, look at them, they're all just like, we don't like you because you like tricorders and replicators.
What was the direction on the set that day? Where they're like, look as pissed off and arrogant as you can. You know, like they're just like, what? They're just like, huh?
It doesn't make
what's
any
going on?
sense.
It's like,
Why
what?
wouldn't you want replicators? And like these are humanity solve things like poverty and disease and suffering, and these people want more of it. Like, let
Okay,
them, I guess. Like,
I hear where you're going with this, but I disagree. I can totally understand someone wanting to, be closer to nature and the earth and wanting to, disconnect per se. I can absolutely understand that, right? But at the same time, like, why no safety net? There's no problem having a safety net, right? You can still solve all of your problems, but you're not going to kill anyone or have anyone die on you.
but they did. They said, well, maybe we'll leave the thing on.
But that's Alexis's like stupid mindset that she poisoned the population with, where she's like, it's all or nothing when it doesn't have to be the case.
Right. Just
It just seems like it's like going too far. It's just going
it's
too
going way too far. Like, of course, like I would be like, I don't buy that none of them would be mad. After 10 years, that not if I had spent 10 years living under this crazy woman who doesn't let you have doors, even in her little crazy community, like because there's no knocking, there's no privacy. You have you're put to work. I would first of all, I wouldn't even live in her little society thing.
You're
I
like,
would
I'm gonna
have
go
gone
live
off.
on my own.
I would definitely live on my own. I might come to trade with them or something, maybe sometimes, but screw it. Like, I would not live under this. And so, and if I did, if I somehow found myself, I was, but where I'm going to get thrown in a box in like this heat box if I look the wrong way or if I don't go along with what the crazy woman says, then screw them. And they have no credibility. Their whole society to me has no credibility because okay, I get like, oh, I want to be one with nature. Not that you're getting people killed because you got all these diseases and different things. When all you would have to do is have some like hypo sprays on standby. Jeff's coming back here.
So I just the whole society thing just kind of just has me thrown for a loop. It just seems like why I don't know. Okay, so with that type of let's go to was it Enod or Vinod's bow and arrow?
Yeah.
What animal that you have to build a fence to protect your protect the people is getting killed by that crappy bow and arrow? Because the way he was shooting, I don't think he's going to kill a wolf. Or wolves, a pack of wolves.
Right. But again, like this is a society that no longer hunts animals or farms animals, right? For food. And she's saying, no, that's actually the better way.
Did they specifically say that they don't farm? I mean, they don't have any animals?
They don't enslave. Well, it's a line Riker has in like a season 1 TNG episode. He's like, we no longer enslave animals for food purposes. Now we see plenty of examples in Star Trek where they will hunt and eat meat as a survival thing, and so from that standpoint. But again, Alexis planned this out, right? She picked the planet, the place, the conditions that this crazy experiment she wanted to do played out, right? She picked a place where there would be insects and diseases that would have no cures, that would have harsh winters and people would die of exposure, that would have animals, to your point, that could somehow invade their home but were somehow you were capable killing them with a bow and arrow. So
where were the traps? Like,
yeah, they were like 10 years. That's pretty pathetic what they had for 10 years.
10 years
Right.
and I can't have a hamburger because a sis wants to be the salt of the earth, and I have to have like mangoes and fruits only, like, and vegetables. Nah, man, she's not going to Starfleet. She's gonna pay here on this planet.
Well, imagine like, you
I
know,
think-
it's like Lost, right? Or Gilligan's Island or whatever allegory you want to use. And like you go, oh,
Right.
well, I shipwrecked us here on purpose. You'd be like, fuck you, you know? Like it's that you took away choice. You took away years, freedom, right? And even if it worked out, it's not okay.
Cassandra's like, look,
definitely-
Cisco's been the first dude that I could possibly like get with, and you're telling me that I could have been like hidden different types, right? Like, because it, for the most part, it looks like everyone's kind of paired up except Steven and Cassandra, right? In the main cast. Steven ain't it. He ain't it.
He ain't all that in a bag of potato chips.
He ain't it. So Cassandra's like looking at Cisco. Cisco has his, at that time he had his jacket off and he was like, you know, showing the buys, you know, the 24-inch
was.
pythons, right? He had the
Yeah,
sweat. He had the man's sweat from being in the fields working. Right?
Anytime Cisco is in that like sweat gear, like, you know, like where he's about to go to bed or he's like about to go to the gym, he's like gonna have some sort of like sexy encounter.
It's like, my ship is called D Space Nine, and I'll show you why.
But first, let me get into a skin type purple outfit with no sleeves.
Yeah, Jeff, I don't
Oh.
like these people. I didn't like these people in the colony.
I don't
I
think you're
don't like
meant to.
their society. I don't like their ideals. I don't like that any of them didn't choose to leave.
How many cults do you like?
I don't like zero. I'm an anti, generally speaking.
So yeah, exactly. So you're not a cult kind of guy, but if you were in a cult,
if I was,
you
would
might
this be
have
the
a different.
one? This
You
would
might
be
have
what
a
I would
different
pick.
feeling toward the episode, you know, or if you were in a cult.
He would
Yeah.
be brainwashed.
If I was a victim of brainwashing, I might be. I think it might be quite the opposite. I think I would feel much harsher against this episode. Although maybe my level of understanding would be better. I don't
Obviously,
know.
we're gonna like it.
They take it on the chin pretty quickly. Like, oh well,
Or did she write like? Did she sort of? I don't know how they all ended up on this ship together, or did she sort of pick people that she knew she could manipulate too?
they were
like-
going somewhere. They were going
No,
somewhere.
it was it was an accident, wasn't it? When they
No,
crashed.
it was an intention. She intentionally did it.
Oh.
To them, it was an
I
accident.
didn't know that
The
part.
ship started
thought it was.
functioning, right? But she planned it.
She
Right?
planned it. She's a
She and her
devious
dopey
bitch.
son.
Yeah, she's completely villainous. Now her son, 10 years ago, how old would he have been? Yeah, how old is he in this episode? You
I
think?
think he's like 25, so he's probably 15.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
You know.
Or
he's,
that's his IQ. Ooh.
yeah,
He might be like 23. He might have been like 13. You know.
right. So depending on how old he was, he's a victim as much as anything. But he seems to be her most devout disciple here, right? And the rest of these people,
Because they're the yeah, but they're at the top of the food chain.
right? Like I think that's okay. When they find like Cisco's like, we're taking you away. You're gonna have to answer for these things. I think that the reason Steven is just like, no, now I'm in charge. I've been waiting for my moment for her to be out of the way, and for the son, he was like third in line, and he's like, I feel like the rest of them were just like, I guess, yeah, maybe we'll like life under Steven more, because I get it that if they want to stay there as their home, that's fine. It's more this idea that they all want to stay. It's like 24 people, right? Like it's not even enough gene pool to like start a whole new society there. Like it's and you'd want to open communication just in case, again, someone gets sick or you have an emergency.
I like the one moment when Alexis is you, Rob, or whatever the guy's name was, and he's like, "You would be dead. You were or in prison." You know,
Steven.
I
Steven,
refuse
yeah.
to believe that there's not some planet in the Federation that's like not off the beaten path. If you want to go live with nature, you can. If you want to live replicator free or whatever, That's fine. Like we saw that Picard's brother is one of these people who doesn't eat replicated food. He's like, he's more of a traditional guy. There are tons of these people even on Earth, let alone in the colonies. But this whole idea of like anti-technology bugs me because I'm pro technology. I think that these things do enhance things. I keep hearing this, oh, there's something less about us because we've invented technology. Nonsense. These are incredible achievements, and that's progress, and we are
right. But that's a different question of whether or not you're happy or not. Lots of people are happier in Africa with, no technology than people that have everything. To me, it was more of a question about what fulfills the human spirit. And that's what was seductive about her pitch. That's why people thought it was good, regardless of her. They thought it was like a good way to live your life and fulfill your life. Whereas surrounded by technology and everything, you're kind of just, you have everything you want and everything you need. That's not really how humans were designed. We were designed to like survive and create things and make houses and shelters and gather food. When you have all that provided to you, that changes the human condition, and some people would want to go back to the old condition.
If you want to live like this, basic lifestyle, I think you would be free to do it. I don't think that what she's done here is even necessary in the world that they come from, right? Like, and even when Cisco and O'Brien show up, like they want to know what happened with the soccer games, right? Like they've not been like what's been going on with the celebrities or what's up with fashion or things like that. Like they I think that there's obviously something they missed about it. They miss sort of being part of this bigger world. So it's just so odd to me that they reject that at the end. Like, no, we want to live out here isolated hermits. It's fine that this is now your home, but it's just weird to me that you don't want to be part of society.
Well, he didn't say that though. He said we're gonna think about it, and we might make some changes around here, and we might put the dampening field up. We might not. That was basically what he said. So maybe.
That's fine, but those kids, they deserve choice too. I don't know if you can choose that for your children. That's right.
But shouldn't they like, hey, we should like elect a leader, or let's figure out.
I don't know,
what's
and
happening.
I don't even know
because there's like a power vacuum.
What is right here too? Are these still Federation citizens or are they not? Is this a unique society now that's separate? And do they have inalienable rights as a new society? I don't really know. Like they don't have time to get into the ethics of all this stuff, but it does raise some interesting questions because it's to me, it's a critique of modern society and of our daily comforts. And I get that there are people who are happy out there with a simpler lifestyle. I don't get it, but it's fine. Like you're entitled to it, but I just don't understand this sort of like mandating it because it's like that the opposite is somehow poison. It's sort of like the implication here.
Well, like
that tricorders and replicators and computers and whatever.
But Dave, there are societies today that live this way. The Amish live this way. The Jews on the Sabbath, they can't use technology. They can't even press a button, like stuff like this.
It's fine. It's not something I agree with, but of course they have the right to. But I don't like the implication that the opposite is somehow bad.
Well, do they ever say it's bad, or do they say it's not what is fulfilling these people? It's kind of what they're saying. Like these people would have been lost had they kept living their lives in the technology field. They needed this retreat. It's almost like a retreat.
We don't know that. She doesn't know that. Who knows?
No, she's crazy.
Right?
Yeah,
like, Cassandra, you would have been an office clerk. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows what the hell Cassandra's life would have been, right? And what kind of things she could have done, or could do. But she's been convinced that no, her main worth here is as a member of like this small community. And fair enough, if that's what she chooses to do now. But it doesn't make it. I feel like that, like them all choosing it at the end unanimously is sort of an indictment or is sort of saying that she's right. She was right. And I'm saying, first of all, you can't even say that. Like, I don't even think that's a fair like decision. I think that's the way the writers are going here. And I looked this up. This episode is like 5 writers, so I don't know if they had a plan here or not.
Yeah, it's writer by committee for sure.
Yeah, but it's just, I feel like it's like, no, it is better when you just live out here without toilets, without any kind of technology, without medicine, any kind of connection to society. Like, if
they had medicine, but it was natural and herbal medicine.
What herbs they could found, and they cured
leaves and fungi, hoping to draw out the infection. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, like, come on.
Yes. No, of course. There are things like medicine that definitely technology. I would think if you wanted to live this way, you at least have like a Starfleet med kit would be helpful.
Mhm.
You know, stuff like this. If you chose to live this way, it's kind of like people do this where they go and they live on an island by themselves, you know, for a month or whatever, or 6 months, or you know. But some people will take like a whole med kit or a satellite phone, or just in case of emergencies. Like, I think if you want to go live this way, I think it's totally cool. Just have those precautions. You know, I think what she was doing was reckless for these people. If at least you had like you know, some sort of trading post where you could get medical supplies for the things you harvested, that would make more sense. And then the society could kind of flourish, and then people could move there and kind of be like, oh, I could live this way, instead of the hustle and bustle Starfleet world, or you know, space world. That is, you know, the Star Trek universe.
Right. It's fine if this is your philosophy and this is your chosen lifestyle. And it's just weird to me that this is something that they would have, like, it's so rare to them or so unique that now they need to stay here. I'm sure they could have lived this way if they had chosen to anyway.
Didn't what's her name live off the grid in Picard as well?
Mm-hmm. Like, there's plenty. You could go live off. The Federation is a world, a society where it's, especially at this time now in Star Trek in the 24th century, is the land of plenty, right? And so they have all they want, or you know, and you can kind of go anywhere. But anyway, I digress.
Okay, so do we want to go into some fun facts here, or are we kind of have we had our fill here with Star Trek Paradise, Deep Space Nine?
I think there's some. I think all the other things I want to hit on, you'll probably hit on with the fun facts. So
yeah.
let's go from there.
Okay. Not to be confused with Paradise Lost, which will come up in season 4. So this is just Paradise on its own.
Which was Paradise Lost? Is that the one? Is that the one with Cisco and the Klingons?
Cisco's a shapeshifter, I think, in that one.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, okay, so we bring him up here. Okay, so this is the first episode, guys, that we've covered so far that do not feature Dr. Bashir or Odo. Every other episode has had Dr. Bashir and Odo in it.
They had no lines. They were not even mentioned, were they?
They're not at all in the episode.
I guess there wasn't there was no time for them to be in this episode. I thought it was weird that O'Brien was so much in this episode, considering last week was an O'Brien focused episode.
They easily could have put Bashir with Cisco on this mission, not O'Brien. You know? Yeah,
they could have picked. It wouldn't really have mattered who they chose. They could have put. To your point, yeah, it's just Bashir here. I think it's fine that it's O'Brien, but I don't think he's great in this episode compared to Avery Brooks. I think he's kind of not until he gets his phaser.
He gets well. He's like, I'm gonna go and help him, and he's like, no, don't.
I feel like Avery Brooks in this episode is trying very hard.
Oh yeah.
And he's like trying to be very dramatic, and he's trying to he's doing like Russell Crowe did in Gladiator, where he's taking this garbage script and he's just trying to squeeze out any ounce of performance he can to grip you, and it falls flat because no one cares about the episode. Like, the storyline is not very good. It's not.
He acts with his eyes. Come on.
Yeah, but he's trying so hard. Bless his soul. Okay. This episode sets up Jake's ongoing apprenticeship to O'Brien, which would become official in the next episode. Which okay, so we haven't touched on this yet, but was Jake was going to go into Starfleet?
Well, this is I think this is the first mention where I think Ben Sisko hints that he wants his son to follow in his footsteps, and I think that they knew that they were not going to do that with Jake, that they were going to have him have his own path. So that's just, I think it's just the beginning of where they wanted this story to go, right? They're planting the seed here for the first time. Is Jeff frozen?
Possibly. I did chuckle when they're like, we need to get Jake into another uniform, and I'm like, yeah, you do. None of this, he's like 5 years old with his.
He said he was growing like a something or other. New suit. Yeah, well, when Jake's ready for a new suit too, the boy seems to grow a centimeter each week. He struck me out with a curveball the other day for the first time. Let's see if Jeff comes back here.
Yeah.
No guarantees. Next fun fact, if there is one. The colonists say they have not seen a Starfleet uniform in years. The style would have been the season 1 of TNG style at the time. It was like the no collar one with that line here. You know the one I mean, right?
Yeah.
Jeff, you're back.
Yes, I'm back. Sorry. Okay, some of this episode was filmed in Griffith Park in Los Angeles.
Oh, that's a famous Star Trek film in location.
Okay.
Okay, I also read in another thing where it said Michael Piller kind of came up with the idea for this episode, and that his brother was in a cult, so he drew from that experience and was very influenced about that for this episode. So kind of like that was the whole genesis of this episode. Okay. In just the previous episode, Sisko and crew were able to remote pilot a runabout from another runabout. But in this episode, Dax and Kira have to use a tractor beam, apparently a very dangerous maneuver with no better option, to pull the runaway runabout Rio Grande. They literally did it in the episode before, and then they're like, no, we have to do it this way. It's like, huh? Okay.
No, it made no sense.
This is the first episode of the series in which, Ira Stephen Bear asked Hans Beimler and Richard Manning to join the writing staff of Star Trek DS9 during the filming of this episode, but each declined. Beimler joined the crew a year later as a producer and a writer. So, Beimler, maybe he was very important.
Jeff,
going forward.
Do you have any fun facts about the uniforms?
Yes, I do. So, when they say like, hey, like your uniforms look different when they go to the planet?
Yes.
Well, that's because they're used to seeing the Starfleet uniforms from 10 years ago, which would have been the uniforms from Star Trek The Next Generation season 1 and 2. So when they have the stupid line on their shoulder
line and
or
they're
whatever,
too tight.
Yeah, that's what they're supposed to look like.
Okay, but also in this episode, Jeff, Brian was talking about how he had to fix that transporter when he was got to get off, in the Cardassian Wars and off.
Yes.
Right, and so then he said he got the gold suit, right? So, and he was made a tactical officer on the Rutledge, but then when he was in Encounter at Farpoint, which would be after that, he was wearing red again. But then he got transferred back into gold as transporter chief on the Enterprise. So just some uniform based discussion.
So O'Brien, he never wore green or blue, but he wore the other two colors a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
He didn't know how to fix a transporter. He didn't know a transporter from a replicator in those days.
No, but he just somehow knew how to fix something really, really complex out of just pure inspiration. And no, you don't have to work hard at all. You just have to be talented. That was like the point of his whole speech. It was so weird.
This was a guy who would one day teach engineering at Starfleet Academy.
Yeah.
Right?
I doubt he told the students, hey, just wing it. And if you have talent, you'll figure it out.
If you deserve to live, you will.
If he dies, he dies.
Yeah. That's how you move up the chain.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so O'Brien mentions the starship Rutledge to Sisko in his anecdote about repairing the transporter during the war with the Cardassians. This is a reference to Star Trek TNG episode The Wounded, season 4, episode 12, which aired in 1991, where it is revealed that O'Brien served aboard the Rutledge as tactical officer under Captain Benjamin Maxwell.
Ooh.
Gotcha. Cardassian Wars.
The registry number seen on Alexis's ground ship is BDR-29, the same number as that seen on the license plate of the Bluesmobile from the Blues Brothers, 1980.
Okay, I got a question about registry numbers, Jeff. Well, they
Ooh.
mentioned the registry number of the Rio Grande in this episode, right? Which was 72452, right? But isn't the USS Voyager NCC 72456?
But that's are they both NCC?
Yeah, they're both NCC.
Oh, maybe they were made around the same time.
No, it's 74656.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Do you think that we've lost something, Jeff, since we went to a 5-digit registry number?
No.
Okay.
Those are pretty cut and dry.
Jaemeel,
No, I don't think we lost.
I think people are more likely to remember the 4-digit. I think that everyone knows NCC 1701. If you throw a letter on the end, it's okay. But when you go NCC and then you go to 5 digits, people go, I can't remember.
What was Bacula? Well, I was mentioned Bacula. It's
NX.
NX.
What's the Defiance?
No one knows. No one remembers because it's so hard. It's like
NX. I know that for the Defiant.
it's
not
NX
NCC.
74 something or other.
Yes. Both versions of the Defiant.
Not the original version of the Defiant.
The original Defiant had what? NX.
The NCC 1764.
74205.
I stand corrected.
205.
I
But
stand
you were-
corrected.
74205. Yeah. Why not just make it 4? I don't know. 74205.
make it-
They'll make
why
it a
not
good
give it
number.
Why not give it the same registry as the Defiant from the original series?
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's maybe why they had to make it NX and not NCC, because they should have made it the NCC Defiant,
Or
the A or whatever. Yeah, that would have been cool if they had done that. And that was the only good episode of Enterprise, was that mirror thing with the Defiant.
Mhm.
Moving on.
Yep.
The half of the erstwhile regulars of DS9, Jake Sisko, Bashir, Odo, and Quark, do not appear in this episode. So half the main cast.
And
There was Julian Nixon, who we mentioned earlier, who played Cassandra, also played Ensign Leanne Sue on the Enterprise D in Star Trek: The Next Generation. So she was all right. She's been around.
she's Star Trek alum.
This takes place in 2370.
Okay.
It was the wild 70s.
Cisco begins his station log while aboard a runabout, which is first time ever.
For
Yeah,
him.
why was he given a station log from a
station
runabout?
log? You're right.
It didn't make sense. It should have been commander's log or personal
Hey,
log
personal.
or mission.
You can tell that too many people wrote this script. Too many people fucked it up. A script for this episode was sold on an online auction. In a deleted or unfilmed part of this scene where Cisco and O'Brien confront Alexis with their evidence, Alexis mentions that she met a quantum physicist at the Delta 6 station who had been investigating the effect of radiation on electromagnetic flow, giving her the idea for the duonetic field. We kept calling it a dampening field, but it was actually a duonetic field.
Did you know that the Rio Grande is the only runabout that survived the entire series?
Yeah, because every other one got
They
blown
blow
up.
up one a week eventually, but the Rio Grande makes it all the way to the end of the show.
Well,
And yet it's a ship
yeah.
no one thinks of.
And not even and the Defiant doesn't even make it to the end because it comes back, but it,
No, the Divine doesn't even make it through the show. So they got a new one. Just name it the same thing.
what was the new Defiant's old name?
Sao Paulo.
The South Pie. Yeah, I knew it was like something in Spanish.
Brazilian.
Okay, well that's it for the fun
Fun
facts.
facts. Okay. Great. Thanks, Jeff. All right. Well, let's get to the ratings. Ratings. We call it ratings. Okay. So, Paradise. Ashley and Kevin are not here. So, let's start with Jaemeel.
I'm going to give it a 6.5. The reason for that is even though pieces of this episode are actually well performed, there's still a lot of nonsensical business that just makes it a really hard watch.
Yep. Jeff?
I'm a 4.8 on this one.
Whew. Oof.
I'm gonna give it like a 5.5.
Okay.
So it's okay, but I don't need to watch it ever again. So it has a 6.7 on IMDb. Between the three of us tonight, it has a 5.6. That's pretty low. That is below average, and it averages out at 6.2 combined. Yeah, this is it's not the worst episode this season, but if you look at our overall average for the entire show so far, we're only at a 6.4. Not great. So we know there's better stuff to come, but sometimes every time we knock off another season 2 episode, I'm kind of like, another one bites the dust.
Just have to get to the mud. Just get to the mud.
It's episode 15. So what do we got? Like 10 more episodes of season 2? Like what we got
season 3, I do feel like things really do pick up in season 3, but this is really, we are at kind of the halfway point here in season 2. We are going to be going to an episode called Shadow Play next.
Like Shadow Puppets.
Shadow Play. Oh, I remember Shadow Play. Okay, with the hologram town. So check that out next week, next Wednesday, Jeff. Right?
Yes, next one's what? For what? Sorry.
This podcast, Deep Space Nine, Shadow Play.
Yeah, the Shadow Play next Tuesday. Season 2, episode 16. We gotta just keep trucking through, get through the mud of season 2, so we can finally.
Or I heard someone say this.
So we can finally get through some of these like dollar episodes, and like the every show needs to find its way, and there are good things in every episode, no matter what.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, Dave, we have a original series episode, TED Trek
series. TED Trek tomorrow. We're gonna be watching The Ultimate Computer.
Okay. Thursday.
So I'm gonna be excited to check that out.
The Ultimate Computer. Okay, so we got that. Okay, and then Thursday you have the Star Trek Discovery Circle Jerk over on Live Long Podcast.
Circle Jerk with me and Michael and Adam on Thursdays. We found out. Guess what? There's even more episodes of Discovery this season than we thought. We thought there was only going to be 10. It turned out there was 13.
So more.
It was Christmas came early. Over on the Star Trek Discovery Thursday nights. Jeff, a lot of exciting things happening over there.
Disco.
Yeah, disco. Talking about registry numbers, 1031A now. Yeah. It's a thing. So
why did they have a new ship?
They got a refit basically. So
a refit or a new ship?
No refit.
So how do you rebrand it? It's not it's the same ship.
They changed it so much. It's basically a new ship.
Yeah.
So, they upgraded it. Yeah. So it's pretty cool now. Whole new ship, sort of. And a whole new show, really. So check out Star Trek Discovery. We're going to be going into a 2-parter this week. The first of a 2-parter. This will be the first time they've done a 2-parter this season. And on the weekends, we'll be finishing up the first season of Star Trek Radio Theater, when we're going to be doing Star Trek 4: The Voyage Home.
Granddaddy.
Yes, Jaemeel playing the Federation President and Dr. Nichols. Jeff playing Commander Pavel Chekhov and Admiral Cartwright. I'm going to be playing the Klingon ambassador, who says
James T. Kirk, renegade and terrorist.
That's right.
Have you been practicing?
Oh yeah, man. We have to bring it for this one. So check that out live on Saturday night, December 12th, 2020 at 9 p.m. is we're going to be bringing our first movie to life, and I think I have to get the sound going. I think it might kill me. So check that all out, and our D Space 9 one, of course, here, and our other channels, Trivial Debates, Jeff, and
You started that sentence with so much conviction and passion, and it just kind of died off.
Where are the nuclear vessels in Alameda? Yes, I said that.
Trivial Debates and Super Mater Brothers Podcasting are our other 2 channels where we do some great podcasts about a whole bunch of great fun stuff, including arguing about movies, sports, TV, and more, and talk about other shows not Star Trek related. So check those out.
I do not know your name.
I do not know your name. All
I
right.
don't know your name.
And Jaemeel, you're in that scene. You get to go. I think he's a Rusky, and I go, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Of course he's a Rusky.
Oh, I gotta prep. I'm so excited though.
Commander Pepperchikov.
But wait, hold on. Dave, can you play that clip again? James T.
James T. Kirk, renegade and terrorist.
I love that.
James T. Kirk, renegade and terrorist.
James T. Kirk, renegade and terrorist.
Love it. I'm ready. My body is ready.
And you're in that scene too with the Federation president. I'm excited to bring that to life. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So check that out as we wrap up season 1 Star Trek Radio Theater. So Jeff, take us away.
Okay, join us next week for Shadow Play. For all of us here at the Live Long and Podcast, Jaemeel Robinson, Dave Mater, Jeff Mater, we say live long and podcast and keep on keeping on.